Hello again from my front porch. I'm back here in Alabama. I am in Daphne, Alabama, I believe. I say I believe because I'm actually here to go to a construction job site over in Bay Minette, Alabama, but my hotel is here in Daphne, Alabama. I flew into Pensacola, Florida last night and then drove an hour or so over here because the airport in Pensacola is the closest to get to where I'm at. It's complicated. But a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, it must be really great to get to travel so much," And I've made this observation before about, well, people say you get to see so much when you travel. Yeah, you get to see a lot of the inside of, say, hotel rooms. See? And airplanes and airports and Ubers and office buildings and and construction job sites in my case. But anyway. In case you're living under a rock, last night was the Grammy Awards. I did not watch the Grammy Awards. I don't recall the last time, if I have ever watched the Grammy Awards. But one of the big stories was that Beyonce finally won her Album of the Year award. And I say it that way because she has been chasing Album of the Year for a long time. The problem is Beyonce will do entire albums and it will have one, in some cases maybe two, really notable songs that get a lot of attention, but nobody knows about any of the rest of the songs on the album. And so as a result, she's gotten a number of Grammys related to individual songs, but she has never got that coveted Album of the Year award. Meanwhile, she watches people like Taylor Swift walk away with armfuls of them. And so she's been pursuing that for a long, long time. Well, and this is my jaded. Now, in full disclosure, I'm not a Beyonce fan. I mean, there might be one or two songs of hers that I even know. I'm not the target demographic, and so I am not trying to be critical of Beyonce because of that, but I'm also not going to be overly flowery because I don't have that connection. And so I'm just being honest with you up front there. I consider myself fairly neutral. I don't have anything against Beyonce. I just am not a fan of Beyonce. It doesn't mean I dislike her, but I'm And so with that being the case, she has been pursuing this Album of the Year for a long time, and she wasn't, this is my opinion, she wasn't able to achieve that goal doing the music she's known for and the genres that she has performed in for a number of years. And so just a couple of years ago here, she decides to shift completely into the country music lane. And she creates this whole narrative saying that she's always been a country girl, and this is her, and people are left scratching their heads going, you were in Destiny's Child, you were where's the country here, since when? But I digress. So she creates this whole country music album, or at least it's supposedly a country music album, although later in interviews even she turns around and says, well, this isn't really a country music album. And that's the case. I mean, like, for example, she redoes a Beatles song on there. Now, normally you would say she did a cover of a Beatles song, but in this case it's not even, I wouldn't even consider it a cover. She really redid the song because she used the actual studio tracks, the same ones that the Beatles used when they recorded the song back in the 60s. What's the name of the song? No, see, I'm asking you. Do you know? Do you know what song that is? Paul McCartney is on the album. That's a big deal. Do you know what that song is? Dolly Parton is on the album. Do you know what song she's part of? You may have a better shot at that one. My point is, Beyonce shifted into the country music category. Creates a whole album of country music, even though a lot of songs on the album are not even borderline. Because, the Beatles back in the 1960s were a big country music band. So but So she does this country music album, and the lead song is, I don't know what's the name of it? Is it Texas Hold'em? Is that it? It's the "This ain't Texas, this ain't Hold'em, and this ain't country music at all. This is just if you listen to the lyrics, it literally is just a bunch of country and redneck cliches strung together with a rhythmic beat. That's all it is. That's what the song is. But boy, you can tap your toe to it, you can dance to it, but it's like, oh my, anyway, that song people know because that's the song that has gotten airplay. Although it was then discovered leading up to the Country Music Awards, which is where Beyonce thought she could score initially. It turns out that her guy, Jay-Z, had spent millions of dollars to basically bribe radio stations, country radio stations, to play this song, to play songs from the album, but especially that one song. Because in order to even be nominated, you had to have, some radio play. You had to have some public awareness of the song. And so that's how they pulled that off to get it in there, because Jay-Z basically bought the airplay for her songs. Now, if it really was popular, if it really was good and people were embracing it, you wouldn't have to do that. That's just a common sense point. But again, I digress. Go to the Country Music Association Awards, and she gets snubbed. That's the way that's described. And the reason they say that is because it was, the only reason you can say you got snubbed is if there's a presumption that you were going to get something, that it was a done deal, it was a given. And so all of the people that were saying she got snubbed were, for whatever reason, assuming she was going to get it, even though anybody who was an actual solid, because there are some pop stars who do country music things and who drift into that because they find they can actually sell records over there or CDs or downloads or whatever. But they never stop being a pop star. They're a rock star, a pop star, whatever. They just dabbled a little over here. But aside from those kind of borderline types, the people who are solidly in the country music industry, they just scratch your head and say, what in the world is Beyonce doing? This isn't, what is this? And so she didn't get the award there. And there was all kind of angst. Well, she couldn't get nominated for the Grammy either because of timing related to things apparently. So this year, even though the album came out a year and a half ago or so, whatever, this was the year that she would qualify to be nominated for a Grammy. And she was. Yay, congratulations. Well, obviously, she won. We know. Spoiler alert. But people now are scratching their heads saying, how in the world? She couldn't win anything with the Country Music Association. But then she goes to the Grammys, and they give her Album of the Year for this album, in which people can really only name one song. Die-hard Beyonce fans who just love anything she produces, I'm sure they can rattle off every song, and they can talk about every person who she duets with on there, because there's a lot of them. She brings in a lot of heavy hitters to help support her in this effort. But the average regular person, there's maybe the one song. So it's a repeat of everything else she's previously done, where she's had these whole albums and there's one song that stands out. But this time, lo and behold, what do you know? She actually wins the Country Music Album of the Year Grammy. Now, there's been a lot of hoopla about this. Not just that she finally won her album that she's been pursuing, but also that she's the first black performer to win this, to win a country music Grammy, I think 50 years. Maybe black woman, but still, so there is a milestone moment there for that. Well, see, now here's where it gets even more interesting, because It's not that I've been researching this, but I saw some things and I thought, I wonder about that. And so I looked it up. And the rules, or the selection process for the Grammys is publicly available. It's not some secretive kind of thing, although it is a little bit confusing as to how they operate it. But as I read through it, I realized how easy it would be for somebody who, say, was willing to spend millions of dollars to influence the voting, could manipulate this process and literally buy a Grammy if you're willing to spend enough money. And I'm not saying that happened, because there's been no evidence of that being reported. A lot of assumptions that happened, but we already do know that Jay-Z did that when she was trying for the Country Music Award and for the Country Music Association Award. And so it's not really that far-fetched to think he would have still tried that for the Grammy. And when I'm going to walk you through, I got the website up here on my computer here, and I'm going to walk you through some of the information that's on here, and then we'll talk about a what-if scenario. Again, I'm not alleging this is what happened. I'm not saying there's any verification. But there is when you understand how it works, there is a very clear possible scenario that could explain why Beyonce, with her one-song country music album, was able to beat out half a dozen other really solid country music stars who are also nominated for the Grammy. So let's look at this. First of all, Recording Academy members and record companies enter recordings and music videos released during the eligibility year which they consider to be worthy. So let's start there. The selection process, the people who vote on Grammys are Recording Academy members and record companies. Okay, interesting. But let's move on. So, reviewing sessions by more than 350 experts in various fields are held to ensure that entered recordings meet specific qualifications and have been placed in appropriate fields such as, and listen to this list. This is on the recordingacademy.com website, the /award/voting process. This is the official stuff, right? I want you to listen to this list. There's something insightful I want to point out to you. So it says that they've been placed in the appropriate fields such as jazz, traditional pop, contemporary instrumental and musical theater, and Latin, global, reggae and new age, ambient, or chant, among others. Among others. You know what you did not hear in that list? Country music. Because country music is not the focus of the Grammys. Okay? So that's one really interesting big thing to note there. So, but again, they have these categories. You have to keep hold of that. First round ballots are sent to voting members in good dues standing. So you have to have paid your dues, literally, to be a member. To help ensure the quality of the voting, now listen to this. This is key. Members are directed to vote only in their areas of expertise. Remember all those categories? You're only as a Recording Academy member, you are only supposed to vote in your areas of expertise. They may vote in up to 10 categories across up to 3 genre fields, plus the 6 categories of the general field, which is things like Record of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Best New Artist, Producer of the Year, Non-Classical Songwriter, blah, 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 etc. Okay? So, I know, I probably lost you already with that. And it is kind of confusing with how things are written out. But what they're basically saying is they have these specific genre categories, and they want you to vote in up to 10 of those categories, no more than 10 of those categories, preferably the ones where, what was their exact wording here? The members are directed to vote in their areas of expertise. So you're not supposed to just go grabbing from areas. You're supposed to vote in the areas where, so if I'm a country music singer and songwriter, then they're telling me I should only vote in the country music categories for singers, songwriters, and I can also, because it says here I can do up to 6 of the general field categories where things like Album of the Year fall into play. Okay? So I'm supposed to limit my voting to those things. So again, I'm dwelling on that because that is a big part of this. But so then the final, so it goes through a couple levels of, first there's all the people, and then it gets whittled down, and then the members vote again, and then there's those. But so in the final voting, after nominations have been determined and announced, okay, that's where you got that pool of people for you get up there and the person says, and nominated are, and they list out all the names before they tell you the winner. Okay, so once that list of those people has been confirmed, after nominations have been determined and announced, Academy voting members vote in up to 10 categories across these fields in the genre field, plus the 4 categories of the general field. So again, we're back to, this is not wide. Here's all the nominees, Academy members, vote on it. You're still being asked to limit who you're voting for. You don't get to just vote for everybody or in every category. You're asked to limit who you can vote for, okay? So that's how that's all done. And then the ballots are tabulated by Deloitte & Touche, and after the voting tabulation, winners are announced at the Grammy Awards, at the ceremony, blah, 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 blah. And the numbers are never given. The results are never shown. It's not like they say, and with this many vote, blah, blah, blah. So there are, let's see, where did I see the number here? I'm not seeing it right here. I believe on one of the pages I looked at, I believe it said that there were 13,000 of the active members. Or maybe I'm leaving a 0 off of that. I don't think so. But anyway, it's the members in good standing, which means their dues are paid up, not just their name is on the roster. And then you don't have to get all of those people to vote for you. Because first of all, it's all being limited to categories. It's self-limited though. There is nothing in here that says anybody checks up on this. Okay? So that's another detail to keep track of. People you can vote into other areas that you're not an expert on, and who's going to care? Who's going to notice? How's that going to matter? So that's, hold on to that. But then also, when you were coming down through this process, again, whatever the number of full members of potential voters are, it's first of all tapered down to whoever voted in the category, and then you only have to have the majority of votes in that category. And that's not even 50%. That means if there are, I don't know, let's say there's 5 candidates. I'm going to use 5 because that's a number I can work with. If there's 5 candidates and there was an even split, everybody would have 20% of the vote. All you need to do then is get 21% or 25%. That means if you could win with 25%, that means 1/4 of the limited pool of people is all you need to vote for your Grammy nomination in order for you to win. That's the math. That's how this works out. Okay, so here you go. So that's I've never been nominated for a Grammy. I've not been through this process. I'm only telling you what I'm reading from their own website. But if this is the case, then here's I want to back up to what I said here. So here's the what if. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not alleging that this happened. I'm just saying this is how easy it could have happened. We already know Jay-Z has a history of spending millions of dollars to pay off people to do stuff that will help set up Beyonce's nominations for something. All right? So what if What if he went out to her peers in the previous genres that she did? Because that's the key. Remember, the language was that you're supposed to select for your areas of expertise, voting on your peers. Okay? Excuse me. Beyonce has done this country album, but she's still Beyonce, which means her peers are not country performers. Her peers are in other areas. Individuals who traditionally would never vote in the country category. But now they have incentive. They have reason to vote for one of their own in this country music category. And it could be because Jay-Z sends them a nice little check and says, hey, vote. You got your 10 votes. Vote for 9 of them however you want, but make sure one of them you vote for Beyonce over here in this country music. Actually, it's not even one of the 10. You can vote for your 10 selection. Remember, there's the 6 of the general field ones where album of the year go. So you can do your 10. It's the 6 that you just have to, okay, here's it, but make sure you vote for Beyonce over here in this one. Now, there's little whispers out there. There's also the notion that with Donald Trump's election, that there were some who viewed Beyonce walking away with the Country Music Grammy as an in-your-face to the country music mega crowd, that, imagine how their heads will explode when a black lady walks away with the Country Music Grammy, ha ha ha, and that there was some motivation of that. That actually is being reported out there. Now, whether that really had bearing on how people voted, I don't know, but that is being discussed out there. So my point is, you've got the regular country music folks who would standardly vote, and they're looking at their own country music people, and they're splitting their votes amongst these different individuals. And then you potentially could have this big influx of people from other genres that traditionally never vote in the country music category, swooping in and throwing their support behind Beyonce for this album of the year in the country music category. They would not have wasted the vote voting on her over in the category she normally performs in, as we have seen to be the case year after year after year, but they don't mind throwing away a vote in the country music category because it doesn't impact them. Now, again, I'm not saying that happened. I am not saying that is what happened, but I'm telling you, it could very easily have happened. And I guess time will tell. Just like we found out later about how Jay-Z bought all the radio time, maybe we'll find out from some of the Grammy nominators that they got some similar little kickbacks and encouragements from Jay-Z and his people, and Beyonce's talent agency. They were involved with some of those shenanigans with the Country Music Award, the Country Music Association Award. So I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. And it'll be really interesting if the story ultimately comes out that what I just described is exactly what happened. I want you all to remember I was right. Now, if that's not what happens, or it comes out that's not the case, then you can just forget what I just said. But still, I really genuinely do want to congratulate Beyonce on winning that award. I am thrilled that she won the award, and the reason that I am thrilled is because I'm hopeful that now that she finally has completed her set of Grammys, she finally got that elusive Album of the Year award, I hope that we stop hearing about her whining about it. Her and Jay-Z and Kanye and whoever else is out there has been out there championing her, saying she deserves this. Okay, well, now she's got one. So you can shut up and then we can move on. So, yay, Beyonce. All right, I know this episode might be a little bit snarky, but it's all. I'm intending it to be a little educational as well, because we talk about these topics and there are fires things. I wanted to help you understand the behind the scenes, the how the journey goes to get someone to this point. So I hope that I enlightened you some. All right, well, it's about time for me to actually leave my hotel room and actually get to the work that I'm here in Alabama to do. And so with that, I'll let y'all go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.